Highlighting techniques. Learning objectives. 1. Explain why a thorough knowledge of hair coloring is needed for a successful cosmetology career. 2. Explain how the hair structure, texture, density, and porosity affect hair color. 3. Define the role of levels and tones in formulating hair color. 4. Explain primary, secondary, and tertiary colors and their contributions to tone and intensity in the hair. 5. Compare and describe the different categories of hair color. 6. Detail the roles of hydrogen peroxide and ammonia in a hair color formula. 7. Explain the role and action of hair lighteners. 8. Detail the steps for an effective hair color consultation. 9. List the 5 key questions to ask yourself when formulating a hair color. 10. Outline the steps of hair color and lightening applications, from preliminary strand test to a single process and a double process with lightener. 11. Describe the techniques for highlighting. 12. Explain the special hair coloring techniques for gray hair. 13. Describe common hair coloring challenges and potential solutions. 14. Describe the safety precautions to follow during the hair color process. Highlighting techniques. There are several methods for achieving highlights. The 2 most frequently used techniques are the foil technique and the balayage, freehand painting technique. Here's a tip. When determining technique and placements, always consider hair texture, density, curl pattern, and how it would be styled. Clients may want to accentuate their curl patterns, show more depth in their hair, brighten around their face, or have rooted lived-in look. You will determine which placement and application is based on your client's requests. Some options to consider are highlights with brightening around the face, pintura highlights to accentuate curl patterns, rooted lived-in balayage application, low lights and toning based to brightening existing blonde, monochromatic dimensional color to add depth, subtle brushed-on highlights to give short hair texture, and color blocking accent pieces for creative looks. Foil application. The foil technique involves coloring selected hair strands by slicing or weaving out sections, placing them in foils, applying lightener or hair color, and then sealing them with a foil cover for processing. Foiling is a great technique for maximum lift or when you want to see highlighting coming directly from the scalp. You can also apply permanent high-lift hair color to the strands to create softer, more natural-looking highlights. The same technique can be used for low lightening. When low lightening, use a demi-permanent color is an excellent option. Foil highlighting techniques. Placing foil in the hair is an art. It takes practice and discipline. To make it easier, start by creating clean section blocks on the head. Once you have perfected this, you will fully understand the difference between a slice parting and a weave parting. Slicing involves taking 1/8 inch 0.3 centimeter hair sections by making a straight part at the scalp, positioning the hair over the foil, and applying lightener or color. Cover the lightened hair slice with a foil to prevent the lightener from drying out or touching other hair that is not meant to be lightened. Slicing gives the strongest effect when highlighting. It can make the strands of the section more prominent. For a very bold effect, use back-to-back slices. Within the foil, however, the slice must be 1/8 inch or less. Too much hair in a foil causes bleeding foils, dragging foils, and uneven lift. If you are unsure, less is always more. When applying color or lightener, the section should be thin enough for the product to saturate the top and the bottom of the section in the foil. Weaving involves taking 1/8 inch hair sections by making a straight part at the scalp, then separating select strands using a tail comb to go in and out of the section. The more hair you weave out, the heavier the highlights will be. Place the top section of woven hair on a foil and apply lightener or color to the strands and foil as desired. Thin, least noticeable with subtle change. Medium, standard weave for dimension. Thick, only 1 or 2 pieces are only weaved out. Subsections, the spaces you leave between foils. Subsections are a part of your overall highlight pattern and should be consistent. Doing a back-to-back application means there are no subsections between foils, resulting in a heavy highlighted effect. The only hair not highlighted are those pieces left out when weaving. Large subsections will result in fewer highlights or less overall color change. Standard subsections should be between 0.6 to 1.25 centimeters thick, depending on density and desired result. Foil can be used in many different patterns in the hair. There are face frame, half head, three-quarter head, and full head foiling patterns that produce different highlights on different portions of the head. When choosing your foil patterns, remove the horizontal lines, create width, vertical lines create length, and diagonal lines create draping effects. Consider the client's haircut, density, and texture when choosing your foil pattern. Balayage technique: single point application, dual point application, and 3-point application. Also known as freestyle hair painting, involves painting lightener, usually powdered or clay off the scalp lightener, directly onto clean dry hair for a more natural looking highlight. Balayage can be heavy or subtle depending on the application. Because balayage is a freestyle hair painting, the options and patterns are as limited as your imagination. Understanding how hair lays in natural fall, proper blending, and control are key to a successful balayage. Apply the lightener with the tip or side of an applicator brush, starting with a light, almost dry application at the scalp. Some companies make specialized angle brushes for balayage applications. Reloading the brush as you go allows more deposit of lightener. Application becomes increasingly denser as the lightener approaches the ends for a soft, natural grown-out effect. Some examples of balayage application techniques are single, dual, and 3-point, also called chevron. Refer to figures 16 through 36 through 16 through 39. After the lightener is applied, place cotton under the strand and plastic wrap between the sections. Balayage applications can be done with a tint brush or combs and brushes such as a paddle brush. Dry brushing on short hair and around the face on longer lengths can provide a subtle sun-kissed result. Always process according to manufacturer's instructions to the desired lightness. These techniques yield a wide variety of results, ranging from subtle to bold to natural. True balayage is done without foil, so there is no heat conduction for optimum lift. Choose the application when only 4 or fewer levels of lift are desired. Some colorists process in open air, while others use plastic wrap or specialized papers to keep the product moist for processing. Other techniques. Pintura highlights are a form of balayage where individual hair strands are painted, usually on wavy curly hair. Color melt technique. The color melt technique blends colors together seamlessly. There is little to no line of demarcation. Unlike balayage, which paints on the color melt creates gradual transition between colors. The effect is achieved by placing a darker hue at the scalp, the color gradually changing or lightening down the hair shaft. The color melt is a creative process and can be achieved in multiple ways. Cap highlighting. The modern cap highlighting technique involves pulling clean, dry hair strands through a pre-forted cap with a thin plastic or metal pick or crochet hook. The bigger the pick, the more hair you will pull through at one time. Cap highlighting is not recommended for tightly curled or coiled hair as it can tangle. Determining the pattern is nearly impossible. The cap highlighting service begins with preliminary strand tests followed by shampooing, light conditioning, and then drying the hair. Add a shine spray if the hair is not slick or tangles easily, then brush the hair straight back. Apply the cap from the forehead to the back, pulling it down to ensure a snug fit that is flat to the scalp. Customize the highlighting by using a thick marker to draw the part line where the client normally wears it. Do not pull strands on the part line where regrowth would be most noticeable. Add dots or circles through the cap where you want to pull additional hair for specific effects. The number of strands pulled through the cap determines the amount of hair to be highlighted or lowlighted. Pulling a small number of thin strands through the cap creates subtle results. Achieve a diffused effect by pulling many very thin strands through the cap. Pull thicker strands through the cap for more dramatic results.